Hey, True Believers, Englentine here. Now, I'm a huge Daredevil fan, and I figure, you know what? I haven't read everything in a long time. I haven't read Daredevil, just sat down and read Daredevil in a long time. So I want to go through this, and I want to talk about it. I want to share with you why I love the character. And so I figure I'm going to do the Daily Daredevil, where I go through issue 1, 2, 3, all the way up. I understand a lot of people will be like, okay, let's get to the Frank Miller stuff. Let's get to the Frank Miller stuff. But there's good stuff between here and there, and I would love to see the evolution of the character as we go. Now, I'm going to do this for as long as it's popular, or as long as I could get views. I am a bit of a whore as far as that's concerned. I don't want to do something just because I like it. I of course need your help. So I need your feedback. Let me know in the comments below. Do you like this? Do you not? Do you want to see other characters? Maybe I only do 30, maybe a month worth or something and move on to something else, and then like come and pick it up later. That might actually work as well. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Always interact with the videos, please. That just helps out the algorithm. But that I digress on that, and that's all backstage stuff. So let's get on to the book. One thing, I look at this cover and I realize it's horrible for a first appearance, because above Daredevil, they're introducing Spider-Man. So I have a feeling that there's not a lot of faith in the character of Daredevil. Spider-Man's first. Remember when we introduced Spider-Man? Now we continue the mighty Marvel tradition with Daredevil. And by the way, it's not even that. Remember when we introduced Spider-Man, which arrows down to a worthy companion magazine to such all-time greats as the Fabulous Fantastic Four. In this issue, we'll meet, and then they introduce Matt Murdock, Karen Page, and Foggy Nelson. So they give you such a small space for the main character. Now we continue the mighty Marvel tradition with Daredevil. Can you guess why Daredevil is different from all of the other crime fighters? Right off the page, you got to say poor fashion sense. Because, yeah, I know a lot of people love this costume. Okay. Plus, why is Jack Kirby holding a gun? All righty. So there you go, gang. Let's get into this book here. And it starts off, the origin of Daredevil. Remember this cover? Once again, still, they're pushing Spider-Man. Remember this cover? If you're one of the fortunate few who bought this first copy, you'll probably wouldn't part with it for anything. And now we congratulate you for having bought another prized first edition. This magazine is certain to be one of your most valued comic mag possessions in the month to come. I could really see Stan Lee saying this. He was nothing else if not a salesman. Okay, so we start off, it says you're looking at the entrance to Fogwell's Gym on New York's Lower West Side. It is here that our story begins, a story different from any you've ever read before. And okay, I like it. I like the detail and such, all the different posters and everything. The scrawny cat, it's actually kind of Disney-esque, so I guess eventually it would make sense. In a dingy room above the gym, four men play a game of poker, little dreaming of the shock which awaits them. Come on, Porky. We haven't got all day. The fixer may be here soon. Keep your shirt on, Sam. I don't rush for anyone. Who do you think you're kidding? You know when the fixer snaps his fingers, we all hop if we want to stay healthy. Sam's right. Anyhow, I'm Bush. Let's knock off for a while. Hey, what's that noise? We see a man putting on the glasses. For the hell of Pete, what do you call that? And ta-da, the Daredevil. You're in the wrong place, Buster. We don't use costume wrestlers here. I've seen the nutty get-ups, but that one takes the cake. Well, look at his build. Hang around, fellas. Maybe the fixer can use you. I intend to do just that. When I'm through with the fixer, he'll never be able to use anyone ever again. Hey, look at that. This guy's looking for trouble. The fixer won't like that. He must be some kind of a nut. Toss this costume clown out on his ear, Porky. It'll be a pleasure, boys. I could use the exercise. And, of course, we see Daredevil slip into action, flipping the guy over his legs and such. Obviously, I'm not going to read every line of dialogue. And then, of course, doing the leg spin, which makes me wonder, did he flip him over, grab him by the legs, and then jump up into a spin? How exactly does this move happen here? And, of course, he throws the big guy into the others. Mister, you just bought yourself a big pack of trouble. Wait till I grab that gun. Sorry, playmate. You'll have to move a lot faster than that. If you're grabbing a gun, I guess I could use a simple little billy club. And we see him knock it out of his hands. You punk, I'll fix it so you never make another wisecrack again. Bite your tongue, Porky. Think what a loss that would be to the world. Stop wasting your time, Porky. I'll take care of that crumb my way. And we see Daredevil dodge the chair. Don't bet on it, pal. Surround him. He can't stand all of us at once. Now's our chance while he's catching his breath. Get him! And then, of course, he jumps, grabs onto a ring, and boom, knocks them all out. Leaping onto one and grabbing the other, I begin to suspect that I'm not really welcome here. Okay, mister, we've had it. Now who are you and what do you want? It ain't possible. Nobody can fight like that. He must be doing it with mirrors. Now that playtime's over, I'll hang around until I find the fixer. As for who I am, you could just call me Daredevil. Dun, dun, dun. And then, of course, we get his origin story. Daredevil, brand new name in the world of superheroes, but one which is destined to reach the very heights of glory, for Daredevil has a special type of power, such as no adventurer has ever had before. To learn what it is, let us go back a few years, back to the origin of a man called Daredevil. The year is 1950, as the prize fighter known as Battling Murdoch talks to his 8-year-old son, Matthew. But I don't want to study now, Dad. Why can't I go out and play ball with the other kids? I can study later on. No, Matt, you'll do it now. You'll study every chance you get, you hear? I promised your mother before she died that I wouldn't let you grow up to be an uneducated pug like me. You're going to amount to something, Matt. But I want to be like you, Dad. I'm proud of you. You're the greatest. Don't say it, boy. Don't say it. I'm past my prime. I've no future. Nothing I could do but become a punching bag for younger men. But I won't let that happen to you. You're going to study, become a lawyer or a doctor. You'll be somebody, the somebody that I can never be. Now go back to your room, son, and get you busy with your books. Okay, Dad. And, of course, you see his jacket that said Battling Mac. As the years roll by, Matt Murdock does his best to live up to his father's dream. He becomes top student in his class, forsaking all sports, all athletic activities, although his heart aches for the thrill of the baseball diamond and the gridiron. And we see him staring off at a football game. If only Dad would let me try out for the team, I'd be as good as any of them. I just know I would. But I can't go against his wish. I can't defy Dad. After all he's done for me, after all of his sacrifices, I've got to be the son he wants me to be. Doesn't it sound like the Frozen theme? Be the good girl you always have to be. And so young Matt Murdock goes his lonely way, spending every minute he can spare with his books, never sharing in the games. Oh, Rudolph doesn't get to play the reindeer games. No one could be as cruel as unthinking as youth, and it is only a matter of time before the neighborhood kids make up a nickname for Matt, a name he will long remember. Well, if it ain't old Daredevil himself. Hey, Daredevil, be sure you don't tire yourself out turning all those heavy pages in your school books, laughing at me. They think I'm a sissy. Then, when he reaches his room, someday I'll show him. I'll make them eat those words. I'm as strong as any of them. I'm rugged as any of them, and I'll prove it. Someday I'll prove it. And hey, you know, why not? Why can't he stay healthy? You know, why can't he actually beat the bag a little bit? The dad didn't say he didn't want him to train out at all. Just didn't want him hanging out with the with what obviously is some sort of soon-to-be criminal element outside of the neighborhood. What a numbskull I am. Why don't I just keep doing this every day just to keep in shape? What? Yeah, that's right. It's only natural that the son of Battling Murdoch should take to vigorous training the way a duck takes to water. And so, in the months that follow, while his dad is out of town on the boxing circuit, we see him do basically a routine. Now, he looks fit here, but if you look down here, he's definitely got the beginnings of a beer belly on the rowing machine, and you can see it on the bike as well. So, yeah, he definitely has something to work off. I can't talk. I'm fat as hell, but there you go. But no matter how hard he trains, the determined teenager never forgets the goal he has set for himself. How are things at school while I was away, Matt? Everything all right, son? Guess so, Dad, if you call straight A's being all right. Matt, I know how tough it's been for you while the other kids were out playing and having a good time, but the day will come when you'll thank me, boy. You're going to amount to something, just the way your mother would have wanted you to. There is one problem which Battling Murdoch keeps from his son. I haven't been able to land a fight in weeks. I'm getting too old. No manager will take me, but I can't let Matt down. I've got to keep fighting until he gets through college. I owe him that. For the way he's worked all these years. Finally, in desperation, Murdoch makes a fatal decision. Look, Murdoch, you're all washed up, and you know it. The only guy who'll manage has been, like you, is the Fixer. The Fixer, I always swore to myself that I'd steer clear of a guy with his reputation. But now I've got no choice. I have to get a fight. And so, well, if it ain't battling Murdoch. 10 years ago, you kicked me out of your dressing room when I offered you a deal, but I knew you'd come around sooner or later. Sure, I'll give you some fights and you won't have to take a dive either, just because I'm really a soft-hearted fool. Here, sign this contract. And we see him sign the contract and walks off really happy. Excitedly, the joyful prize fighter rushes to his apartment, only to find Matt is not there. As fate would have it, Matthew Murdoch at that very moment is returning from the library, taking the most important few steps of his entire life. And he sees the blind man stepping out into the street, yelling, "Say, mister, can I give you a hand?" And of course, the old man didn't hear him. Matt Murdoch's getting worried, sees a truck coming on, and leaps to save the old man. Of course, we all know what happens. The truck swerves. He saved that man's life. Most heroic act I've ever seen. But a cylinder fell from the truck. It struck his face. Is it something radioactive? Don't just stand there. Someone call an ambulance. Later at the municipal hospital, your son is a very brave lad, Mr. Murdoch. You must try to be equally as brave in the days ahead. If only it happened to me instead of him. If only I had been there. Don't, Dad. It could have been worse. Even if I did lose my sight, at least I'm alive. And days later, after the injured boy returns home, good news, Matt. The doctor's report says that an operation may restore your sight in a few years after the tissue is healed. And of course, Matt at the time is saying, good job. But in the days following, Matt Murdoch studies more than the written word. He begins a still more intensive program of physical exercise. I don't get it. Ever since my accident, I seem to be able to do everything lots better than before, even without my sight. It's as though nature made all of my senses far more powerful to compensate for my blindness. And I wonder, could have the radioactive elements which struck my eyes have anything to do with my increased powers? Stranger things have been known to happen. But whatever the explanation it is, a supremely confident, self-assured Matt Murdoch, who finally graduates from high school and is eagerly accepted by the directors of admissions of state colleges, where we find him sharing a dormitory room with his new buddy, Franklin Foggy Nelson. You old hound dog, how do you do it? I study like a demon, but you just breeze through the courses with all the top grades. I guess my dad deserves the credit, Foggy. He had me study so hard when I was younger that it all seems to come so easy to me now. And I wouldn't be surprised that the radiation I absorbed in the accident doesn't have something to do with it too. Everything seems easy for me now. All my senses are razor sharp. My hearing is so acute that I could tell if someone is in a room with me just by hearing the heartbeat. And I never forget an odor once I smell it. I could recognize any girl by her perfume or any man by his hair tonic. Even my fingers have become incredibly sensitive. I could tell just how many bullets are in a gun just by the weight of the barrel. While my sense of taste has become so highly developed that I could tell exactly how many grains of salt are on a piece of pretzel. But my most important new ability is in the form of my built-in radar that I seem to have developed. It enables me to walk anywhere safely without bumping into things. And you see him walking around. I feel a strange tingling sensation when I approach any solid obstacle, warning me in which way to turn. We see him on the road, and this guy's warning him. Cars coming, of course. He's saying, ha, if this guy only knew that I have every one of my remaining senses working at absolute peak capacity. Meanwhile, the career of battling Murdoch takes a surprising turn, and we see how Murdoch is basically beating the crap out of everybody. And the fixer says, here's your dough, Murdoch. Keep it up, and you may be champ someday. I can't believe it, Fixer. It all seems like some kind of miracle. Then, after Murdoch leaves, wait till the old fool finds out that all his fights were setups. You paid his opponents to take a dive. Sure, I did it to give Murdoch a build-up to draw the crowds, but he'll learn the facts of life in his next fight. That's where I get him to take the count. And then we cut to the college. We see Foggy chasing after Murdoch. Hey, Matt, wait up. I want to read you the sports headline. It's about your dad. He's fighting Dynamite Davis tomorrow night in New York. How about that? Want to go? I've already got the tickets, Foggy. One for each of us. And then it's fight night. And we see the fixer said I have to take a dive in the first round tonight. And in this corner, the middle-aged sensation battling Murdoch. Now, why would he announce him like his middle age? I understand he's middle-aged. But wouldn't there be something like, something a little more like the fearsome or something? I don't know. He's flat out insulting him, trying to take down his confidence. We see the big bout, and we'll find out that because Matt Murdoch is in the crowd, that battling Murdoch refuses to take the dive. And we even see the Fixer. If you're trying to double cross me, you'll live to regret it. You're supposed to dive. Now here, dive. Of course, if he's yelling it at the corner, everybody knows that the fight is fixed. The poor stay poor and the rich get rich. That's how it goes. He's winning. Matt, your dad's pulverizing him. I know it. I can follow the fight perfectly by hearing the sound of each blow, each footstep in the crowd. Really? Okay. We got to talk about that later. It's my one chance, maybe my last chance to do something to make my son proud of me. I'm not going to fail him, says Battling Jack. I'm going to win. Do you hear? I'm going to win. Call it a miracle, call it pure willpower, sheer determination, call it what you will, but a few seconds later, the winner, Battling Murdoch. And yeah, his son's proud of him, and that's exactly what he wanted in the situation there. But, of course, the Fixer's really mad, and he tells his hitman Slade, you know what to do. A few minutes later, as Matt's happy father leaves the gym, no matter what the Fixer does, I won't care. My son is proud. Suddenly, the sharp, explosive sound of a gunshot destroys the silence of the night and ends one man's reverie forever. And we see the cops are there investigating the death of Battling Murdoch. Later, after grieving Matt Murdoch has heard the tragic news. You got to snap out of it, Matt. Pull yourself together, fella. That's what your dad would have wanted. Dude, how long has it been? Seriously. I don't think there's rule on this one, Foggy. Stop being so freaking insensitive. Come on. And, of course, Matt graduates from college, and they open up Nelson and Murdoch, attorney at law, and they meet. My name is Karen Page, Mr. Murdoch. I hope you'll be pleased with me. Her voice, it's like music. From the sound, she's 5'4", young, and I know she's lovely. Later that night in the furnished room Matt has rented near the office. I'll never be able to concentrate on my law work until Dad's murder is finally brought to justice. But years ago, I promised Dad that Matt Murdoch would use his head, never become a fighter, never depend on my strength the way my dad did. And he gets the idea, wait a second, become a costume fighter. And I'm no Betsy Ross, but I should be able to handle this. Lucky my touch is so sensitive. Yeah, wait until that pin pricks you. I can even blend the colors for each colored fabric. Has a different feel to me. I wonder if that would be true. And, of course, we know that he actually can't see truck colors as we get the big reveal of the Daredevil costume. The costume is tight enough to wear under my clothes if need be. I'll just make a few finished touches on the headpiece, and when I'm through, Daredevil would be recognized anywhere. Looks at his cane, thinking of how it could be used as a weapon. I'll hinge it in the middle, design a sheath for it. It'll be the perfect all-purpose weapon. And we see him practicing with it. I can use it in 100 ways. It's perfect. And now for the job at hand. I've got to bring my father's murderer to justice. Tomorrow, Saturday, the office will be closed, so I'll start in the morning. And I know just where to begin. Dun, dun, dun! And so we see Matt Murdoch walking down the street. People are like, oh, that blind man's so confident. And he makes his way to the gym where the Fixer's men are. And that's where we left off, ladies and gentlemen. So we return to the present as our Daredevil saga continues. Now, do you take me to the Fixer or nothing? We've had it, fella. Just hang around. He'll be here any minute. And we do see the Fixer step in. And they're like, whoa, this guy looks like he wants some trouble. My associates don't seem to like your look, mister. You better talk fast. And we see Daredevil looking at him. From the heavy tone of his voice, he's beefy, rough. I hear breathing on each side of him, so the other two must be flanking him. Correction, Fixer. It's the Fixture. You're the one who's going to talk. I want to know what arrangement you had with Battling Murdoch. What's that to you? It ain't healthy you mention him around here. Must know something, boss. I'll take care of him. We see his guys drawing a gun, but Daredevil throws his billy club at him, knocking the gun out of his hand, and it returns to him. Of course, the other guy does the same thing, so he uses his cane to knock his gun out of his hand, and boom, the fights are on. One dude runs away, he trips him up with his cane, and we have the Fixer going, how does he do it? He doesn't miss a trick. Now let's all settle down for a nice talk unless you'd like another session with me. And one guy's like, look, you, but the Fixer's like, quiet, I'll handle this. I'm still the boss. Whoever you are, you're in a mess of trouble. You're not getting away with coming here and roughing us up. We got laws to protect innocent people. Sam, call the cops. The sound of a hand picking up a receiver. This is almost too easy. Sir, I suspect you were responsible for the death of Battling Murdoch. Why don't you confess now and save us all a lot of trouble? I've got something. Everybody in there probably knows he did kill Battling Jack, but how's Daredevil going to prove it? Seriously. You nuts. I had nothing to do with it. I got a perfect alibi. I have another power I wasn't even aware of. I can hear his pulse rate. It's speeding up, indicating he's lying. My super sense of hearing is like a built-in lie detector. Maybe you do have an alibi. Maybe yours wasn't the finger that squeezed the trigger, but you gave the order, didn't you? No, stay back. Stop him, guys. Don't let him get you. See, right there, you just be like, no. Seriously. Right now, Daredevil's the bad guy. Well, until this dude pushes him out the window. So intent is Daredevil upon listening to the Fixer's pulse rate to determine if he's guilty. Man, that his ultra-sharp hearing sense reacts a fraction of a second too slow. And it was me, but you'll never be able to do anything about it. And pushes the pushes Daredevil out the window, which I guess would exonerate the Fixer. A normal man with all his senses might be doomed in such a situation, but the moment the fearless Daredevil feels himself hurtling into space, his super keen ears catch the rustling of a flag as his lightning-fast reflexes go into action. And we see him hanging on to a flagpole, pressing the hidden stud, which releases his cane handle at the same split second as he lunges out. He stops his fall midair. From here, it's all a breeze, he says, as we see him swing up above and back into the window and back into the fight. Meanwhile, at the other side of town, funny, Matt doesn't answer. Maybe he's still asleep. The door's open. Hey, Lazy Bones, thought I'd see if you need anything. Matt, he's gone. Gosh, I wish he'd called me. I hate to think of poor Matt walking around town all alone with all the traffic in New York. I'll go up to the office. Maybe he decided to come here and get familiar with the place before starting on work Monday. But entering the new office, Foggy finds it unoccupied except for the most decorative accessory. Oh, that's good, Stan. Let's think of women as... I'm not really offended by that, by the way. Karen, today's your day off. I know, Mr. Melson. I know, Mr. Nelson, but I'm a stranger in New York and had no one to visit, so I thought I'd tidy up the office while I had a chance. Is Mr. Murdoch with you? And he says, no, I understand. What a pity. Such a wonderful, handsome man is so handicapped. And that kind of makes Foggy Nelson a little bit jealous because, yeah, he's kind of interesting, Karen. There's something about him that makes a girl want to take him in her arms. And, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Nelson. I had no right to speak that way. It's just that he seems to need someone to look after him. So as much as Nelson was objectifying Karen, Karen is objectifying Matt. Not so much as a man, but as someone who needs to be taken care of. But we cross over to, we cut to Daredevil here, and it would be hard to imagine Karen Page's feelings if she could see the handicapped man she is referring to at this moment. Out, all of you, I'm only interested in Slade and the Fixer. Boy, you don't have to tell me twice. And, of course, the Fixer's like, come back, don't leave us with him. And Daredevil looks at him. Now, you two, I've learned what I wanted. Slade actually did the shooting, but you gave the order. What good'll it do to you? You can't prove it. Yeah, where's your evidence? Now for my final bluff. They're so worried now they'll believe anything. Right here. I have a miniature tape recorder concealed in my billy club. It'll tell the police all they need to know. Then before Daredevil can make a move, the Fixer tries one last desperate maneuver. Quick, Slade, run before he can get his balance. Arm, I wrenched it. I was a fool for being so overconfident. I should have known they'd try to make a final escape. They can't have gotten far. I'll get them. But racing around the corner, Slade and the Fixer quickly mingle with the Saturday afternoon shopping crowd. They'll never find us now in the middle of the crowd. I can still smell the traces of Fixer's cigar smoke. I can follow that scent like a bloodhound. And so begins one of the strangest pursuits on record as a man without sight unerringly makes his way through a crowded avenue on the trail of two killers. Within minutes, the graceful, supple figure of Matt Murdock, his knife through the unsuspecting crowd like shadowy wraith, and then... Guess you're right. No one near us now but that blind guy. We've lost him for sure. Come on, we'll duck into that subway station across the street and get off at Penn Station. We'll be out of town in an hour. That's what they think. Hey, did you see how fast that blind guy pushed past us? Who cares? We got our own problems. And we see Matt Murdock apparently in the open stripping down to Daredevil. Because you see a street sign. Street signs aren't put in alleyways or anything. And he stops the guys saying, are you going somewhere? And they decide to split up. Daredevil throws his billy club at, what was his name? Slade. And we see the Fixer running away in the other direction. And we see him trip up Slade. That'll slow him down while I go after the Fixer. And for some reason, instead of running, now by the way, I used to travel like this. I'm not kidding. When I was 10 years old, I found a big oil drum and I used that as a way to run around. And I think I would have been faster had I run. Now, granted, I would have been more tired. So it made for a decent transportation. But if you're actually trying to chase someone down like this, Daredevil, you're doing it wrong, man. That second, the beefy, overweight, fear-filled figure of the Fixer's gasps and slumps to the ground and his panic-stricken heart ceases to beat. Wait a second. So in his first issue, Daredevil scares a man so bad he has a heart attack. That is, and by the way, Daredevil's celebrating. His heart attack saves the public the expense of a trial. When the police come, Daredevil jumps on the train. Instead of saying, this dude had a heart attack, he does say, follow me, boys, I've got a job for you. He lands on Slade. Now for my last bluff. The Fixer just told us everything, Slade. He's innocent. You are Murdoch's murderer. The dirty crumb, he's not going to wiggle out of this. He's as guilty as I am. I only pulled the trigger, but he gave the orders. The cops say that they heard the confession. Name's Daredevil. Remember it. You'll be hearing it again. I promise. So afterwards, we see them back in the office, and we get from Karen that Slade is called and he wants them to defend him. Foggy says, I turned him down from the police report. I was convinced he's guilty. Hope you don't mind, Matt. Matt says, mind? No, I don't mind, not at all. Not a bit, not one single bit. I do like the shadow here with the Daredevil thing. That's something they did a lot in the 50s, 60s, 70s, so forth. Dad, wherever you are, I kind of hope you're resting easier now. Don't waste a minute. We can't wait to hear what you think of Daredevil. Send your letters to Daredevil and blah, 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 the address. And in the meantime, remember, this is just the beginning. We've only scratched the surface. Daredevil really hits his stride in issue number 2 when he faces his first supervillain. Don't miss it. So there you go, gang. Daredevil number 1. Obviously, everything is new at this point. What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think of the video as well? What do we have to say about Daredevil 1? Not a lot of Silver Age silliness here. I mean, granted, jumping on the barrel, that's one thing. And even in the Silver Age, they're still very amazed that this character has superpowers. And I understand we already saw some in the Golden Age and everything, and now we're jaded. So you put anybody with superpowers on, oh, okay, well, that's their power. All right, whatever. They really played it up in the Golden Age and at the beginning of the Silver Age. So it's like, oh my gosh, his senses can do anything. I do think they go overboard just a little bit, because if you really think about what those senses would mean, the man would be barely functional. But because, I mean, think about your touch being as sensitive as people could just kind of walk by you and you would feel it. It's ridiculous. But still, I got to say, it's one of the better Silver Age first issues. I really do believe it's because of the lack of Silver Age silliness. Granted, the inner dialogue that Stanley used to do is a little bit overblown, but I still love this issue. I still love it. Alrighty, so I had to trash the original ending. So I apologize. Gail's over here snoring, so let me finish this up. And you know the drill. Look, this is, if you like this video, let me know in the comments below. I'm serious. I want to know what I could do to improve. I'm already thinking of things to shorten the video. Do you want me to continue on with the series? What did you like? What do you dislike? Obviously, I think I should throw in more comments and such like that. So I'm going to figure out a way to shorten it, yet still be able to cover the story and do more commentary. Anyway, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to click like, share, subscribe, ring the notification bell if you haven't done it. You know this stuff. Make sure to share out and comment. Even if you're just saying hello or, hey, I'm a viewer of yours. That would be awesome. It helps out the algorithm, which will eventually, help out the channel. Also, if you do want to help that channel financially, there's a link in the description below to both Ko-Fi and to PayPal. Ko-Fi definitely just lets you, hey, here's a little tip. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that, and to everyone, all of our true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.